Show. It's Political Thursday, so we're going to get into it, talk about all the big issues that we've been talking about, and we're going to hear the perspectives of the representatives of the two big political parties in this upcoming race. We already have the Honourable Member of Parliament for North Tongue in the studio, Mr. Samuel Okujeto Blakwa, friend of the show, no stranger to the Super Morning Show. It's good to have you again.
It's good to be back, Kojo.
Indeed, and of
good
course,
morning, Mama V.
Good morning.
yes, we're showing off Mama V. Yes, we are very excited she's back, and then of course Nana Kumia is working his way towards the studio so that he can join us as soon as possible, and he of course is the vice chairman of the Baumia campaign team. All right, okay. I think because you're here with us, it would be right for us to start with this rice story, the rice that was supplied to some students in certain schools by a particular company, a particular supplier, which was found to not be wholesome, or reported to be unwholesome. But of course, there's been a lot of back and forth around it. We're trying to figure out what next. But the first thing to clarify is maybe to give a bit of education on the difference between an expiry date and a best before date. They are not the same. The easiest way to think about it is that an expiry date, when an item goes past its expiry, what it means is that it is no longer the item that was advertised. So something has changed in it which affects its nutritional value. When something passes its best before date, it is more a commentary on its quality. Its quality has reduced. Okay, but there are implications and conditions. Let me read this to you very quickly. Okay, this is from the Canadian Food Safety Organization, Canadian Institute of Food Safety. Okay, so they say a best before date on a food package states when the durable life period of the food ends. According to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, durable life means the anticipated amount of time that an unopened food product, when stored under appropriate conditions, now this is important, will retain its freshness, taste, nutritional value, or any other qualities claimed by the manufacturer. This date can be found on a package underneath the words best before. Okay, now this part is important. The date tells consumers that the unopened product should be of high quality until that specific date. The key with this date is that it is dependent on the product being properly handled and stored based on the requirements of that particular food product. This means that failure to adhere to the guidelines for handling and storing a particular product will affect its quality by the best before date. Okay, quickly, an expiry date is not the same as a best before date. These dates are required on certain foods that have specific nutritional compositions that could falter after the determined expiration date. In other words, after the expiration date has passed, the food may not have the nutrient content as described on the label. Expiry dates are required for formulated liquid diets, food sold by a pharmacist, meal replacements, nutritional supplements, and infant formula. If a food has passed its expiration date, it should be discarded and not used. I hope that creates some context for the difference. It doesn't mean that a best before date has no significance. It does have some significance. We're very excited. Nana Kumi has made it just in time to join our conversation. Nana, it's a pleasure to have you once again. Good morning.
It's my pleasure to be here as always.
I understand it's quite hectic out there this morning.
The magnificent, I don't know what for better word, let me call it the Palace flyover.
Right.
Is made travel in that portion very smooth and so on. But unfortunately, it's transferred the traffic to the junction between the so-called Mahama Road and the Bema Camp Road.
Right.
So the tailback from the Bema Camp Road is coming almost to the runabout where the soldier who lost his life, also called Mahama, the tailback is coming right almost to that circle from the Burma camp crossover.
Yeah. Wow.
So
that sounds hectic.
They will have to look at it. Maybe they would have to look at doing another lane where the Mahama Road turns right at the Burma camp road and so on. But
yeah, traffic is never removed; it is only moved. All right. Well, we're so happy that you.
I'm happy today.
Yeah. All right. Listen, I think we should start with this. Lots have been said, a lot of back and forth. We've heard the Ministry of Education. We've heard even the Chief of Staff wade into this matter and say that it's making a mountain out of a molehill, and that it's not a big deal. The food is not contaminated or poisonous. It's just past its best before date. Mr. Kujetu, does that bring the matter to an end?
Certainly not. And the Chief of Staff said worse than that. I don't think that she will have come under the barrage of criticism she has received if she put it how you put it, even though how you put it is still bad. But the Chief of Staff simply dismissed this and said it's untrue and that everything is propaganda and that there should be no space for propaganda in education. I'm like, what's going on here? You are Chief of Staff. You coordinate the government ministries and agencies. You are their head. What preliminary work did the Chief of Staff do? She should have immediately summoned the Ministry of Education, the FDA, the National Buffer Stock Company. Mind you, this notorious company, Lamens, which was indicted in 2021 in the 2021 Auditor General's report, was not doing this criminal rebagging because our Public Health Act 851 is very clear. They did not follow the law, so it's criminal. And indeed, they themselves have admitted and paid a fine for same. So, Buffer Stock Company opened a storage facility for this criminal activity to go on. And these are all government functionaries working under the Chief of Staff, reporting to her. And the Chief of Staff, a mother, a grandmother, does not think that this is a matter that she should be alarmed, and she should immediately summon all these officials who have let us down. Look, let's go to the background of this whole matter. On the 20th of December last year, the Ashanti Regional Police Command and the Food and Drugs Authority Ashanti Region received a tip-off from a patriotic Ghanaian. God bless that Ghanaian. He doesn't operate like the Chief of Staff. He, noticing this suspicious activity, alerted the police and the FDA in Ashanti Region that, I have seen unwholesome rice being rebagged. If these guys have nothing to hide, why are they under the cover of darkness rebagging rice? The original label is Moshosho rice from India, and I have the bill of lading, imported into this country sometime in February 2022. The best before date on the bag, December 2023. Now guess what? They were rebagging into a new bag, and I have the pictures here and videos as well. The new bag had the inscription ECOWAS, Sidao, Food Reserve. Then it had made in Ghana. Mind you, this Moshosho rice was imported from India. You see how criminally minded these guys are. That is not all. In flagrant violation of our laws, Act 851, LI 1541, they did not have any date, whether best before date or expiry date, on the bag. By the time the alert went to the police, they had bagged 15,000 out of the 22,000 they had moved from Tema to the NAFCO storage facility, in clear connivance with NAFCO. I hold in my hands here A letter written by the Ashanti Regional Police a day after the arrest and the swoop, 21st December 2023, and this is addressed to the FDA, request for assistance, is signed by J.J. Boy, the superintendent in charge of crime in the Ashanti region. And the letter reads, the Regional Criminal Investigation Department, RCID, of Ghana Police Service, Kumasi, Ashanti, is investigating a case of being in possession of alleged unwholesome moshosho bags of rice stocked at the National Food and Buffer Stock Warehouse, Buokrom, Kumasi. Investigations have reached a stage where a sample of the suspected moshosho rice needs to be examined to ascertain whether or not the rice has expired or good for consumption. I would be very grateful if your outfit could assist in examining the rice and report, counting on your usual cooperation, please. So this is no propaganda. Indeed, the police moved in, carried out the arrest. I also have here the FDA investigation into this matter, their report. And I'll share this report with you. This report is dated 15 January 2024 and is signed by the head of the Ashanti Region FDA, Mr. John Laye Odai Tete. And it reads, background. The Ashanti Regional Office of the Food and Drugs Authority received an alert on 20th December 2023 about a repackaging exercise which had not been authorized by the FDA, being carried out at the storage facility of the National Buffer Stock in the Ashanti region. A team of officers were dispatched to the said location to ascertain the veracity of the alert for the appropriate regulatory action to be taken in the interest of public health and safety. Upon arrival at the site, the FDA officers detected that the storage facility had been locked up. When inquired from people around the facility, the team was informed that the action was taken by officers of the Central Command of the Ghana Police Service. The FDA team continued to the police command for further discussion. The team, together with a team of police officers led by the regional crime officer, moved to the facility to ascertain the veracity of the alert. Findings. The findings outlined below were arrived at during the preliminary investigation at the storage facility, as well as a meeting held with the Deputy Education Minister, Honorable John Intim Fojo. And this is very significant because the Minister of Education, after this expose, created the impression that they didn't know about this. They are now going to investigate. This FDA report says that they had discussions with the Deputy Minister for Education, Reverend John Intim Fojo.
And 1 second. Is this a report from FDA?
From FDA, yes.
But it's not on letterhead?
Yes, it's not. FDA reports are not. It's on this.
The Food and Drugs Authority?
Yes. Yes.
They don't have a letterhead?
This is an internal report sent to their headquarters. So I've seen other reports from the FDA and a lot of documents here. They don't put them on letterheads. And I've mentioned the head who has signed, John Laye Odaitete. He's still at post.
And is addressed to who?
Was addressed to the CEO of the FDA. This was the result of their investigations into this matter. Nobody.
It's probably worth mentioning that
yes.
we will, of course, since
exactly.
we're hearing of this for the first time, we will seek further.
Yes, you should. I encourage you to do that because I have done all my validations on this matter, and this is unimpeachable. It's irrefutable. I mean, I won't create this document. I don't know what else I will achieve with that. So these are the findings. The moshosho rice, according to the FDA investigations, 25% broken white rice with registration number FDA CE 20701, was imported by Lamens Investment Africa Limited. The notified party is the National Food Buffer Stock Company. The rice was exported from India by Satya Balaji Rice Industries PVT Limited. The facility had been repackaging moshosho rice from its original yellow 50 kg polypropylene bags, figure 1, attached, into white 50 kg polypropylene bags with the inscription Sidao ECOWAS, Regional Food Security Reserve, figure 2, attached to this report. Whilst the best before date on the moshosho rice was December 2023, there was no date on the new bags being used for the repackaging. This is FDA saying this, not me. Additionally, the country of origin, India, had been changed to Ghana, thus concealing the identity of the rice. The repackaging exercise was carried out without FDA's approval nor supervision. The storage facility had neither been licensed for storage nor repackaging. Can you believe that? The Buffer Stock Company has not licensed its storage facilities. Act 851, Public Health Act, is very clear that all food storage facilities must be licensed, must be registered. As we speak, I checked last week, they still have not registered their storage facilities across the country. The FDA report continues. The facility had no qualified or trained person to supervise its activities.
Not licensed for storage.
Yes, for storage of food.
Please continue.
Then the report continues. According to the operations manager, 11,000 metric tons of rice was received in February 2022. This has been confirmed by 2 bills of lading attached. The consignment was originally kept in a bonded warehouse in Tema, Limbrook, due to issues with tariffs. The quantity of the storage facility in Kumasi is 23,000 by 50 kg bags, whilst that at the Limbrook bonded warehouse is approximately 10,000 by 50 kg bags. Realizing how close the best before date was, Lamens Investment Africa Limited took samples of the rice to Food Research Institute to analyze for the possibility of extension of the shelf life. Having received a letter of shelf life extension from the exporter, the importer, according to the operations manager, wrote to the authority head office requesting for approval to repackage the said consignment of rice. However, no reply had been received prior to the repackaging. For easy referencing, the following documents have been attached to this report.
Okay.
So let me quickly confirm that those who think that we are making this up, I have a letter here from Lamens Investment Africa Limited. Even if you want to question this FDA report and wonder its authenticity because you don't see a letterhead, how about Lamens on the 3rd of January 2024 writing to the Food and Drugs Authority, and its CEO David Ajefi-Mensah signs this, and it says unauthorized repackaging of Moshosho rice. We refer to the above subject matter and your letter reference FDA ASHREG ADM dated 29 December 2023. This is 3rd January 2024. We hereby attach payment receipt of 50,000 Ghana cedis, being half of the administrative charge levied on our company for infractions of sections 1031 and 1301 of the Public Health Act 2012, Act 851.
Right.
Signed David Ajefi-Mensah, and I have attached here the receipt. So this is Lamens Investment Africa conceding that they have violated the Public Health Act. And if you read sections 1031 and 130, just quickly so we know what they consider to. Yeah. It says a person who manufactures, labels, packages, sells, or advertises a food in a manner that is false, misleading, deceptive, or misbranded as regards its character, nature, value, additives, substance, quality, quantity, composition, merit, or safety, commits an offense.
Right.
Commits an offense. Then section 1301, pardon me, of Act 851 also provides that a person shall not manufacture for sale, sell, supply, or store products regulated under this part except in premises registered for that purpose. Okay. So that's why the storage facility ought to have been registered. Now, this company has paid half of the fine. The FDA has been looking for them to pay the rest. But I have an internal FDA memo dated 29 December, which I'll share with you, where the FDA's original roadmap was that 1, let's move in to stop the rebagging. 2, let us dispose of the rice, destroy the rice. And then 3, fine this company 150,000. It is shocking that when the Lamens directors were arrested on the 20th of December, a lot of miracles happened. Calls from above released them. Then you remember the letter I read from JJ Boy, the superintendent in charge of crime from Ashanti, where he had sent samples to FDA. Will you believe that before these FDA test results will arrive on the 6th of February, an order came from above that the rice should be sent to our school. So all 22,000 bags were removed from the NAFCO storage facility and distributed to our kids.
Bags of rice that were under investigation by the FDA.
And I have here the FDA report which came on the 6th. And if they had waited for this FDA report, they wouldn't have shared the rice, because the FDA report confirms that, quote, presence of insect does not conform to the compliance statement. And this is signed by Marian Vivian Hammond, Marian
insects.
Joseph Ufosusiao. Yeah, insects.
They found insects
in the rice,
which was then distributed to children.
which had been distributed.
Okay,
By the 2nd of February, 1st and 2nd February, they had distributed this. Then the rice also had high fat acidity, so the rice was unwholesome and should not. I have given this to doctors. Medical doctors have told me that, look, this should not have been fed to our students.
I have to bring in Nana Komia here. Our time, I have to be fair to Nana as well. Nana, this doesn't look good. I mean, on several levels. First of all, you yourself, as a head of a state institution, I mean, hearing your boss describe this event as propaganda, I mean, must make you feel a little bit uncomfortable in light of the overwhelming evidence. But also the fact that the buffer stock company is implicated in this, and a company that has been flagged by the Auditor General's report has continued to do business with government. I mean, these things must make you uncomfortable.
Well, I was with Samuel Kujato sometime last week, and then he brought these things to my attention last week, and since then I've got snippets of information on the same issue. Questions come into my mind. So these consignments of rice, they have already been consumed by the schools. The schools are actually on vacation, and presumably the students who consume them, they prepare to enter university. I don't know if there are any reports of students getting into issues because they ate contaminated or expired food. Maybe they are. I haven't seen them. I also wonder that, so all these matrons in secondary schools...
Forgive me, Nana, I'm so sorry for the interruption. Your first point is quite interesting. I mean, you're saying that your first question is that, well, there are no reports.
No, I haven't heard.
You haven't heard? Yes, we haven't heard any reports. Is that to say that, well, okay, we poisoned the kids, but they didn't die?
No,
so let's move on.
I've said this widespread feeding of contaminated food. It's surprising that you haven't heard from any school of the effects of, not even one school. And from what Sami Okujeto is saying, this food was distributed to several secondary schools. Yeah. So I'm a little surprised that we haven't had any research reports. Also, and this is also connected.
But how will you know for certain?
That's what I'm surprised that we haven't heard of any outbreak. Maybe there have been. Maybe they were just treated internally and so on. But I'm a little surprised. And also, I'm a little surprised that all these matrons in secondary schools who handle food, feeding students, and also headmasters, that none of these people, public officials, responsible for feeding, hadn't raised, no headmaster, no matron raised issue about the rice being of a bad state and so on. Because this rice has already gone through the system and been consumed. So I'm wondering why nobody in that chain, across all these secondary schools, raised an issue or saw any problem with the rice. And also, you've had snippets from all these institutions, the Ministry of Education, the FDA. I've seen some correspondence from FDA, from the laments, from the Indian manufacturers of the rice and so on, all purporting to have gone through a process to get the best before date extended, to get the food certified as not contaminated and so on. I am interested in what the public is interested in. One, was there contaminated food? That's the primary. Was the food that was fed contaminated? Even though we hadn't heard of any adverse report and so on. But was the food contaminated? Was it expired? If it was, how come it was still fed to the schools? Samuel Kujato is talking about orders from above. As for these orders from above, I usually hear it with police. Who are those people above who gave the orders? I'd like to see a proper resolution of these matters. Unfortunately, Parliament is not sitting. I would have liked, and Samuel Kujato, fortunately, is a member of Parliament. He's a chairman of government assurances. Government assurances, I presume, would mean that you want to question government on the assurances it's given, including serving students with wholesome food.
Wholesome food, yeah.
And so I would have liked a situation where a parliamentary committee like Samuel Kujato's committee, the assurances committee, would summon all of these officials and hold a public inquiry. Some of these headmasters, some of these matrons, the laments, importer, the Food and Drugs Authority, Standards Authority, sorry, Food and Drugs Authority, Food Research Institute, who I also understand gave some approvals and so on, so that we can have a proper investigation as to one, if this happened, that there was contaminated food, and if there was, how come it was fed to students, and if there was some powers above, who are those powers? I like a proper inquiry. Short of that, the institutions involved, these are public institutions, the Ministry of Education, the Food and Drugs Authority, the
The National Food Buffer Stock Company.
National Food Buffer Stock, the Food Institute. They have to get a proper response. If short of a proper parliamentary inquiry, all of these people should have a proper media response, have a press conference with the Ministry of Education, the buffer stock, the laments people, the Food and Drugs, all of them, so we can get to the bottom of it.
Nana, do you agree with the Chief of Staff that this is propaganda?
The Chief of Staff is a very respected woman, and the office she holds is a very important. So I cannot imagine that she will make a statement when she doesn't have the facts.
So you agree with her?
I don't agree, I don't disagree with the Chief of Staff. I don't agree, I don't disagree with Samuel Kujato. I'm saying that there has to be, it should not be left to what A is saying or B is saying. It has to be a proper inquiry. All these officials should come together and be subject to inquiry.
The person to whom all these institutions report says it's propaganda. So how will there be an inquiry?
I'm saying I believe her, but let's not take her word for it.
You believe that it's propaganda?
If she says there's no contamination.
No, she says it's propaganda.
Yeah, she said the whole thing is untrue.
Yeah,
I've made this whole thing up.
But Sammy, what is the whole thing's about contaminated food?
Beyond contaminated food, also the infractions, buffer stock, storing food without registration, without license, then the whole criminal conspiracy to reback, and then in the new back they don't. They mislead, they deceive the public, they don't also indicate the expiry date. So there are a litany of infractions, multiple infractions.
But the core complaint is that contaminated food or expired food was fed to students.
Yes.
That's it. And she says that is not true.
She says it's propaganda.
But I'm saying, whatever she describes it, she says it's not true. I'm saying let's not take her word for it. I cannot imagine the Chief of Staff would come out to deny that there has been contaminated food if she hasn't done her inquiries. But I'm calling for a public inquiry. Let's not take Sami's word for it. Let's not dismiss Sami's allegations. Let's not accept it. Let's not dismiss the Chief of Staff. Let's have an inquiry. I'd like all the parties to come together. And then it's unfortunate Parliament is on recess. Otherwise, this the perfect platform would have been a parliamentary inquiry.
Let's not even go into who to blame for that. Let's take a break. Let's take some messages. We'll come back. 30 seconds.
So my conclusion is that I am interested in getting to the bottom of the matter. I have listened to Sami extensively on this. He shows some documents. I've seen other documents that also seem to give a counter review. I've heard of the Chief of Staff. There is an opening for a proper inquiry, and that is what I would like. At the very least, in the absence of that inquiry, these parties owe it a duty to the public, all the public institutions involved, to come and meet the media and do or attempt an explanation, because the public interest must be served, and the public interest is that they want to get to the bottom of it. Was there contaminated food? If it was, if it wasn't, fine, show it. If it was, how did it get through the system? The public is interested to know, and I'm also interested to know.
All right, we'll take these messages back after our Political Thursday goes, especially when our two stalwarts are with us. So, listen, let's get back into things. The campaign is heating up, you know. Things are happening. Every time we go for a commercial break, it starts off with an ad from one party or the other, you know, usually heavily criticizing each other. It become a point of amusement. But of course, on the ground, campaign continues. Let's get up to date. How are things going, Nana?
I thought I'll be giving a minute to rebut.
You wanted to?
Nana, yes. It's important.
Okay, it will have to be 1 minute.
Yes,
please.
1 minute.
Yes.
1 minute.
Yeah.
So the point has to be made that this government's approach to this scandal is most irresponsible and insensitive. For Nana Kumia to suggest this morning that because he is not aware, as a government, they've not carried out any work. You can ask the Ghana Health Service to go screen the kids. You haven't done that. And then you sit here and say that no parent has reported to you. You are not aware. Do you know the number of petitions I've received from parents? Go out there, talk to the schools, talk to the heads of these institutions, talk to doctors, the number of students who come to hospitals with food poisoning. So there ought to be a scientific process. As a government, we have entrusted these kids under your care. You can't just say that, oh, because you are not aware, so let's move on. It is the height of irresponsibility. If your kids are in these schools, have been fed with this food, would this be your response or your reaction? Number two, this claim that there was some extension by the Food and Drugs Authority. I have all the letters that the company has been sharing to media houses. The extension, by the so-called extension by the FDA, and the FDA has not covered itself in glory. And I'm not surprised they have been hiding for more than a week since this expose, because we will expose the FDA. Why they succumb to political pressure. I have here their original 29 December 2023 letter to Laments from their legal department, where the roadmap was one. Immediately, you are therefore directed to do the following. One, immediately desist from the repackaging exercise. Two, contact the office of the FDA to initiate the process of safe disposal of the 15,000 bags of rebagged rice. Three, pay an administrative charge of 150,000 Ghana cedis to the Food and Drugs Authority by 12 January 2024. Why did these things change? The FDA must be telling the people of Ghana. We approve all of these millions and billions of cedis for the FDA to protect all of us, protect our kids. Why is it that the fine was reduced from 150 to 100,000? The disposal never took place. The food has ended in the stomachs of our children. This is 29 December. Then, when the police moved in, arrested these people, closed down the NAFCO facility, guess what? They now try to do some post facto cover-up and legalization of issues. The FDA letter they are sharing all over the place is dated 15 January 2024. 15 January 2024. After the arrest, after the rebagging, why didn't Laments and NAFCO wait? What is the procedure? Even if you must do this repackaging, which is really strange and not allowed, shouldn't you get all the approvals first? Why did the approvals, so-called approvals, which changed the FDA's original roadmap, come way after? After the 20th December 2023 arrest, it is 15 January that Dr. Delis A.A. Dakom, the Chief Executive Officer, writes this. Let me quote the last paragraph. Based on the evaluated information provided above and that of the FDA CLSR analytic report attached, a temporary extension of the best before date of the rice, Moshosho, white double polished Sortex Indian rice 25% broken, can be granted only to 30th April 2024. This is the extension they want to rely on. It continues. Please note that till a formal stability data from your principals, the manufacturer of the rice, Satyam Balaji Rice Industries PVT Limited, Jawahar Nagar Rapper, India, is submitted to the FDA, you shall be required to repeat the whole set of tests upon which this extension was granted before a further re-extension can be considered. Signed, Dr. Delis A.A. Dakum. The question I ask is that this so-called extension to 30th April 2024, why wasn't it stated on the new bags? That fraudulent bag origin changed to made in Ghana from made in India. Why wasn't it changed? When our heads store this food, I've been talking to the headmasters. Sometimes this food can be in their storage for 3 months, 4 months. The kids will go on vacation, come back. The heads did not know that they are to, even this FDA extension is to April. And there are a number of schools who even beyond April have served this rice in June, in July, in August. And the doctor's report is very clear about the medium to long-term dangers of eating food that has insect infestation, that has high fat acidity. Right. We should be outraged. Look, when other countries, Michelle Obama, you remember her work as what she chose to do as First Lady. It was to improve nutrition in schools so that America's lunch program, kids lunch program will be improved. They are talking about great standards, making sure that the nutrition levels rise so that IQs will be improved. We are here feeding our kids with extension when we all know that after best before, quality is reduced. It is not great. And even the storage, if you look at the fact that the buffer stock storage facility was not licensed, and the videos I have seen and have made available to the media, you know, of how horrible this rice was. I mean, and you have government officials thinking that they can dance around this just skillfully, you know, and instead of us seeing concrete urgent action, we are not seeing that.
The point is made.
I'm totally disgusted, totally appalled.
The point is made. We don't have a lot of time.
Well, I have called for urgent inquiry into the matter, and I have regretted that Parliament, which I believe would have provided the best platform for this kind of urgent inquiry, is not sitting.
Now, are you saying the Chief of Staff could not have instructed an inquiry into this?
For
Only Parliament can do
for all
that?
you know, she's done it.
She hasn't done that.
Well, we don't know that, do we? Do we? We
she
don't.
She says it's all untrue, so she won't do anything.
It's not true. So if it's not true, why would she investigate it?
But if she says she
says it's propaganda,
says
so why would she investigate it?
Do you accept or accept the possibility that she's making the statement based on inquiries she's made?
No.
Yeah, but
there's no
why?
such possibility.
So
she will have told us. She will have said that we've looked into it. It emerged that it's not true. This is the report. She will have made it available to the media.
Are you aware of inquiries that she's made? Then we can't speak to that.
No, I'm not aware.
Then we can't speak to what
so
we
why
don't
you
know.
inviting
But
us
I'm
to
saying that
conjecture?
it is possible that she has made some inquiry.
We don't know that.
We don't know
so
that.
Let's speak to what we know. What we know is that she says it's propaganda.
Yes.
So if she says it's propaganda, we can't expect an investigation into what she doesn't think even happened.
If there was an investigation, why did the Minister of Education announce in a formal statement
that
they were now going to investigate?
There is also the possibility. I'm 4 minutes away from another commercial break.
She's made inquiry and she's making the conclusion.
She has done nothing. Nana, you know that.
That's what you are saying. But it's possible that she's made that inquiry. But the point is that my earlier surprise, I still stand by it, that with all this widespread distribution of contaminated food, I didn't hear of any reports of this in any secondary school. I'm a little surprised at it because
I'm so sorry, but every time you say that, I get a little bit alarmed. You see, look, rice. Let's be clear here. Rice has a very long shelf life, but it does expire. Rice can become unwholesome. It is possible, right? And one of the things that will make rice unwholesome is if it is opened.
Yeah, I agree.
And we know that happened.
Yes.
Yeah. It was opened and rebagged in an unlicensed facility.
You know, I have called for an inquiry.
Forgive me, Nana. It's an important point to make. It's an important point to make that if we are saying that no children, we have no knowledge of sick children, then we are really skirting the issue. The reason why we have no knowledge of sick children is because we haven't tested the children. And that should have been the first thing. In all things, we must act in the interest of the child. We haven't tested them, but we say there's no knowledge of sick children.
That is why. No, I'm saying I'm surprised.
Like, I'm scared that if I have a child in any of these schools, I would be terrified by now.
Yes, you would be. But the inquiry too should include if there were reports of students suffering or having food poisoning and it was shelved and all of that. An inquiry should even include that.
But so when the inquiry shows that none of the children were sick, then the conclusion is that, oh, we poisoned them but they didn't die.
No, so Lamen should get away.
No, nobody is saying somebody has been poisoned. It is still an allegation which should be subjected to an inquiry. And that is what I am calling for. That it has to be a proper inquiry. And so, because that is what will serve the public interest. Having said that, because there were no outbreaks, it means that contaminated food was not served. It's possible that contaminated food was served, but how do we know that? You need an inquiry. I'm just a little surprised.
You see, this is the same attitude that led us to the government refusing to blacklist Laments when the Auditor General in 2021 recommended that. Read page 133. Read page 133 of the Auditor General's report of 2021.
I don't think we have time to talk about it.
Yeah, no, because this is the most important issue. Don't be worried about this. This is the most important issue.
Yes, the campaign, our campaign, is going very well. Our man, Dr. Bamia, is probably the most hardworking candidate that you have. He's all over the place. His work rate is fantastic. He just finished a 15-day campaign tour of the Ashanti region, and today he's starting a mop-up tour of the Northern region. And the message is so well received. The message is a very simple message. Yes, we have difficulties with the economy. He is proposing practical solutions to those difficulties. The other side, the NDC, their message seems to be, there are difficulties, so vote for us. How they are going to resolve those difficulties, they haven't given us practical, measurable things that they are going to do to be able to take us out of the difficulties. All they're saying is that there are difficulties, it's the fault of the government, so vote them out. Vote them out for what alternative? And Baumia's message says there are difficulties, but these are the practical means that I have to take us out of the difficulties. And that message is very well received. The NDC, for example, is saying that if you voted for them within the first 120 days, they are now going to organize a national economic dialogue. And out of that dialogue, they are now going to draw up a 4-year plan. That's what they've said in their manifesto. You know, and we all know what the NDC, what they do with dialogues. We have Senchi as our guide, but they are not offering us any practical steps. When you look into it, they say we will review this, we will review tariffs, we will do this, review, we will do this, introduce emergency measures. What emergency measures, we don't know. Yeah. I mean, so the Bamia's message of giving the electorate a clear way to get us out of the difficulties, as against what the other side is offering, is going down very, very well. And I have no doubt that it will reflect in the results in the elections.
I have 1 minute left for you, Mr. Kojo.
I mean, Kojo, you've been following the campaign. The NDC campaign is very, very exciting, very reverberating across the length and breadth of our country. The flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, is in the eastern region as we speak. He's toured all 16 regions. This is the 4th round, really, of national tour that he is engaged in. Nana Komia clearly is not listening to our side of the campaign. I mean, for example, on the issue of hardships, the economic crisis we face, our blueprint is very, very clear. I mean, cut expenditure, stop corruption, stop state capture, be ruthless about it, and you make substantial savings, you know, and you get us out of the debt overhang. If you look at the excruciating hardship and the crisis that the business sector is facing, is largely because of the imposition of all of these nuisance taxes. Former President Mahama has said that e-levy must go. The COVID tax, it doesn't make sense that long after the WHO has declared this no longer a pandemic, Ghana is the only country in the world still charging people a COVID tax. Why? For what? And the money ends up in pits like the National Cathedral, $58 million pit, you know, not being used for good purpose. The emissions levy will go. Betting tax will go. So there are concrete proposals that we have made. And you have noticed that our campaign is forward-looking, it's inspiring. Our campaign is not what we hear the likes of Napo saying. You heard Napo the last time, a few days ago, telling the people in the north, the Muslims, that they shouldn't vote for Mahama. If you are Muslim and you vote for Mahama, it's haram. Can you believe that? And that is that's their big vision. In this modern era, they are doing 5th century politics, stuck in, you know, tribal and religious bigotry. That's all we see them doing. So what should Christians do? When Christians hear this kind of message, what should they do? And you don't hear them condemning their running mate and asking him to stop that, because it's so divisive, it's so incendiary, and it is the kind of politics that destroys a nation. That's the kind of campaign they are mounting. But ours is unifying. Ours is bringing everybody together. It's conciliatory, and President Mahama remains the best candidate to get Ghana out of the bankruptcy, the economic mess, the conundrum that we find ourselves in.
I want to thank you both. I want to thank you both for joining us this morning. What a show. I appreciate you. We'll take some messages. Oh, actually, you don't have to go yet. We'll be back for the last issue after these.
The NDC and the MPP are not the same. They are the same. Massa, they are not the same. They are the same.
Nilante, tell us why you think they are not the same. Because me, dear, I don't see any difference between the two parties.
Yaba, one, under John Mahama, every penny borrowed was used for productive investment like the Terminal 3, Accra Digital Center, KJTR Market, Circle Dubai Interchange, just to mention a few. But these Osuno people borrow money, throw Kenke and Wache parties, use the money to bath in the sky, and construct the most expensive swimming pool in the world in the name of a national cathedral. Tell me, is God a swimmer? 2. Under John Dramani Mahama, those who lend money to the government in the form of bonds could sleep peacefully knowing that the government will pay them. Under the MPP, the government will take your money, chop it, and give you a haircut on top. Under John Dramani Mahama, no minister or MP could dare go close to our water bodies or forests to do galamsey. Today, look at our water bodies and forests. These MPP people have destroyed all our water bodies and forests through galamsey. I will not be surprised if we find a galamsey pit in the Jubilee House. How can you tell me that the NDC and the MPP are the same?
Bosu, you talk something, pal.
They are not the same.
They are never the same.
We have to vote wisely.
Vote for change. Vote for John Mahama and the NDC.
Christmas we highway no so be shit. That experience ne bogus be back room. Uni dollar me nua be come ho ne DSTV. If you say this Christmas DSTV is giving live soccer or super sports be analysis to prevent any biases. It's giving Ghanaian content to Aquaba Magic a vibe. Now Korano so can dive into the Nickelodeon channels. How is safe with the parental control. And you fast ne do DSTV. This Christmas is giving the best in entertainment on DSTV. Grab a DSTV decoder or reconnect to your existing subscription and be entertained. DSTV, your home of entertainment.
Hello.
Good morning, oh. Please, am I speaking to Madam Mavis?
Morning. And Mavis me. 1 year.
I am Alfred. Me Frefi MTN. Sisiana we notice say Obi Isika wo wallet in him.
Jesus Christ. Me sika my brain ya.
Oh, madam. Nyabutre. Sika say na na wo wallet in him.
2,000 Ghana. Yes, Jesus.
Oh no. We die bo momo pin na yam block isa ni pano.
What broken? Okay. Why? 9.
Auntie Mavis Jai, MTN will never call you with any number except 0244 300,000. Sure, don't entertain calls discussing your Momo wallet or claiming you've won money or gifts from MTN. Report any suspicious activity by calling 100 or using *170#, the Momo app, my MTN app, or email mmfraudteam.gh@mtn.com. Stay alert.
MTN. Coffee in your cup and Joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM.
All right, welcome back. And we have a little bit more time with our two guests, the Honourable Member of Parliament for North Tongue, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, and the Vice Chairman of the Bawumia campaign team, Nana Akumia. We've got two more issues. How they are going to split their very limited time on these two issues is what I can't wait to see. So stay with us for that. But first, are you ready to step into the spotlight? Do you have what it takes to walk the runway of your dreams? Well, this is Africa's Model Scout, the ultimate competition where the next top models are born. Music intensifies with a drum roll. We're looking for ladies between 18 and 25 years, bold, confident, eloquent, and at least 1.75 meters tall. Ooh, that's tall for a lady. Send your video entry showing your best strut, different poses, catwalk, and tell them why you are the best person to earn a spot in the competition. Email it or send your video entry showing your best strut, different poses, catwalk, and tell them why. Email it to africasmodelscout@gmail.com or send a WhatsApp to 055-157-5757, and don't forget to tag them on social media. Watch this space for more information on live auditions that will take place in Kumasi and in Accra. All right then, let's get back to it. And these are the two issues we have left, and I'm going to split the time between our two guests. We want to hear you on the Black Stars, heartbreaking recent performance, and of course what appears to be the re-emergence of power cuts and Dumsor. And Nana, I'll start.
Listen, I'll just take a minute for each of them. Right. With the Black Stars, I don't think we should get into a panic mode. I know there's widespread calls for the coach to be relieved of the... Listen, we have the World Cup qualification ahead of us. I believe we should maintain the coach to take us through the World Cup qualification place. In its sign of trouble, we change the coach, we bring another coach, we still get into trouble and so on. So I believe that we should maintain the coach and let him take us through the World Cup qualifications. If that one too, the results are not impressive, then we would have completed the cycle. No Africa Cup, no World Cup. Then we can take a decision. On the Dumsor, I have no doubt that the government is going to do all it takes to ensure that the lights are kept on. There's a new Minister for Energy, I think it was announced yesterday or 2 days ago, and I suspect he's got his brief cut off for him, and I cannot imagine that the government will not surmount whatever difficulties there are to ensure that the lights are on through the Christmas, through the New Year, and so on. One power plant was commissioned just last week. I'm sure that will be helpful. And I don't want us to get into a panic mode about Dumsor. It's not going to come. Why are we not
paying the IPPs?
Like I'm saying, there are financial issues that are being discussed. I have no doubt that they will be resolved, and the IPPs will continue to provide the power right through the holidays and the New Year. One small...
Why are we fueling the thermal plants with crude instead of the cheaper gas?
Obviously, there are problems with the gas supply at this moment.
Yes, we owe them. That we owe West African gas pipeline.
And I have told you, Kojo, that I cannot imagine that the government would allow us to go into full-scale Dumsor. I've got a short. Sorry,
maybe just a little bit of Dumsor.
Oh, but you know, once a while
we
get into what we call lights out. Yes, but I mean, of course, Dumsor on the scale of 4 years uninterrupted Dumsor that the NDC served us. That one is out of the question. But even this lights out or anything regarding a regular load shedding program, it is not going to happen. That one is not going to happen. I've got assurances from the highest places, and I am not. We shouldn't get into a panic mode at all. There are difficulties now with payment, but those payments are being negotiated. Talks are going on with the power producers, and I can assure you, we would go through these elections and to December. I'm even focused on the holidays, the Christmas
those assurances,
and the New Year.
Nana, where is the money coming from to pay these bills?
It's not just having all the money. It's also negotiating with those you owe and making alternative arrangements. It will all come to the same thing. You want the power. That's what we want.
But we can't pay.
And I'm assuring you that the power will be on.
Okay.
Now, my conclusion. Look, the earlier issue that we talked about, Samuel Kujato, is, like I said, they have no practical solution. It's just platitudes and statements that they make. If you went next time, let's just deal with the manifestos, and I'll show you how what they are offering to the Ghanaian people is platitudes and statements, and what we are offering to the Ghanaian people is practical steps. If you take, he spoke about revenue.
I have to move on.
Okay, 30 seconds. He spoke about revenue. What are they going to do to increase revenue and cut expenditure? They've just said we'll cut expenditure. That's all. They told us the same thing in 2012, 2013. They've just said we would increase this. How are you going to do it? Right. When you go into Baumia's and the MP manifesto, there are practical steps. For example, we said that with the revenue, we'll cut 30% of government by farming it out to private sector. Do they have anything like that?
I'm so sorry.
We would hold the CD by supporting it with the gold. Do they have anything like that?
Mr. Okudzeto. Thank you. Thank you, Nana.
Thank you.
All the so-called practical steps and practical plans and the solid team, when the exchange rate was 1:4. It's now beyond 17. These people, it's all just talk. I mean, no action, no track record. Look, on Dumsor, when Nana Kumia was on his, slide Dumsor, your interesting, interjection with him. Then I remember the story I read a few days ago. Their MCE for Ewutu Senya East, Honorable Madam Anita Love Obo Emisa. She says that, dear Dumsor, what they have brought upon us is dark and lovely. Theirs is not Dumsor. yeah, that's what she said. She said, oh, yeah. It's here. It's widely reported. Ghana Web, all of them. The Metropolitan Chief Executive for Utu Senya is Madam Anita Love Obo Emisa. That's taken at former President John Mahama, asking him to forget about returning to office. The MCA says that the only legacy of President Mahama is Dumsor. What the MPP is taking us through now is only dark and lovely.
If it's true, it reminds me of the way you people explain 24-hour economy.
Dark and lovely. Can you believe that? Wow. Look, we have a real problem in our hands. I've been in talks with the independent power generators, and government owes them on monthly invoices $1.6 billion. And if you look at what is at PPA, if you put the whole PPA bills together, it's over $2 billion. That's frightening. That's frightening. And government negotiated with them and said they'll pay over a 4-year period. They're just kicking the can down the road so that the next Mahama government will be inflicted with all of this. And yet, even that, with the negotiations they held with them since last year, they are not fulfilling their part of the obligation. President Mahama had fixed Dumsor. You know that Dumsor had been with us, all presidents of this Fourth Republic, 1998 under Rawlings, President Kufuor, all the way to Miles Mahama. President Mahama fixed it, added over 1,200 megawatts to our generation capacity. The crisis we face now is because of the mismanagement of the economy, where our resources have been used on all kinds of dubious deals. $12 million for Kwalugu, we cannot find. $12 million for Ijapa, they can't explain. $2.5 million for SkyTrain, we can't find the money. $2 million paid to Shonky Sheikhs from Dubai for Sputnik V, we can't find them. Over $58 million, National Cathedral, we can't find. The DRIP project, which has been inflated by over $100 million. That's all they are doing with their money. You know, blatant corruption, thievery. And where we are now, you have a situation where these resources that have been diverted into corruption, if it had been used to pay these IPGs, we would not be where we are. So just stop the corruption and pay the independent power generators. It's as simple as that, because there's money in this country. On the soccer situation, look, which sector of our country is working? Which sector? Look, it's such a shame that for the first time in 20 years, Ghana won't be at the AFCON.
Should we keep the coach for the World Cup qualifiers?
We spent, don't forget my recent expose, we spent over 85 million Ghana cedis. The president's cousin's company, that they were going to renovate the stadia. And we still got a CAF ban. They didn't spend the money on renovating the stadia. So it's the corruption, the mismanagement, which has brought us where we are. I say that everybody in the sports sector must go. From the sports minister, the GFA boss, the coach. I don't take the approach of Nana Kumia. Look, this thing has not been working for a long time. Total mismanagement, corruption, diversion of funds. Look at how much was spent on the All Africa Games. You know, and what did we get out of it? So look, the whole government really on December 7th. Let's just show them the door. Let's kick them out. That's what this shows. It's just a microcosm of the malice, the cancer, which has affected this country under the Akufo-Addo Bawumia administration.
I appreciate your time. Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa is the Honourable Member of Parliament for North Tone. Nana Kumia is Vice Chairman of the
Mahama, we qualified for all AFCON.
This is your extended version of the Super Morning Show. We thank you so much for staying with us.